No glam, mascara, glossy filters, or glamour. Chrisean broadcasts live from a dark kitchen with a trembling voice, swollen eyes, and a bare face. Her words sounded like tired murmurs, and her audience froze. I'm tired of arguing. All I desire is peace, even if it means talking to those I formerly proclaimed to be my enemies. The insight was unexpected. Days after launching into an angry diatribe on Instagram, Chrisean is demonstrating some decency toward her opponents. And for a couple of hours only, after a Twitter feud that nearly erupted into chaos in Los Angeles, still before viewers could fully, as she concluded, the camera shifted, unintentionally revealing a gorgeous background, a sizable marble island, a wonderful two-story chandelier, and an extravagant home she had never shown the public. In a matter of seconds, Chrisean casually verified the rumors on the internet. A housewarming party is what I'm throwing, actually. My friends are visiting. Sleepovers are something we do. It was a moment of both surprise and vulnerability when the world realized she was beginning a new chapter. One where ancient resentments and secret affluence suddenly surfaced on the same screen. No chains, filters, or gloss were used during Chrisean Rock's live performance. There were heavy eyes and a low voice, and a lone dull lamp lit up a bare kitchen. In a whisper to her supporters, she expressed her desire for peace and her tiredness of battling, even if it meant speaking to those she had previously pledged never to speak to again. Moments after a heated debate on Twitter and days after an angry Instagram outburst. The tone was shocking. But what really caught everyone off guard was when the camera panned to reveal a beautiful estate that no one had ever seen before, complete, with a massive marble island and a shining two-story chandelier. The moment the live conversation had calmed down, the questions began to flow in. If the plain, light-filled space behind her was her new home, fans wondered. She nodded in agreement, little enthusiasm adding that she will celebrate the relocation. With a low-key gathering, can be 6 or 7 close friends. The words sounded like a soft celebration, but her voice was devoid of passion. The pauses between her answers were monotonous, almost prearranged, and they sounded heavier than her actual answers. That little conflict had the internet buzzing. Was it really a new chapter here? Alternatively, did something bigger end? Difference had been noticed by many who had followed her for years before this time. Instagram stories with dark lighting have replaced the once exciting live broadcasts that were rife with jokes, music, and unadulterated chaos. At first, according to tales circulating behind the scenes, each one seemed to linger in the air, like a riddle demanding interpretation, with subtitles that resembled quiet diary entry lines, like "I'm not okay, but I will be," or "Some blessings come with pain." According to some industry insiders, she has been avoiding gatherings where she used to be the center of attention and declining partnerships that seemed like a great fit for her brand. There is a particularly stunning claim that she turned down a huge endorsement deal from a major haircare product that would have made her a household entity. By itself, that shift appended her circle, raising worries about fatigue, individual problems, or even a deliberate retreat from the spotlight. Asserting that survival was more crucial than strategy, some painted a more bleak picture. One stylist who had worked closely with her said she was scarcely able to sustain herself. "She's not just tired, she is truly depressed," they remarked, in a tone suitable for trustworthy people. Sleepless, not eating, and seldom leaving the house. Text chats were dropped, fittings were canceled, and sometimes she would stare off into space during a conference call as though she were somewhere else. Physical characteristics, including weight loss, black circles beneath her eyes, and a sudden lack of interest, were self-evident in the vivid, dazzling look she formerly thought of as armor. She was polite but distant when friends tried to contact her, as if she was reserving her energy for some unknown purpose. By the time she announced the housewarming, fan suspicions were already stirring. Others thought it was a quiet farewell to her inner circle before stepping away from the spotlight. while others thought it was a fake cheerfulness that hid something far darker, whether reality leaned toward retreat or reinvention. One thing was certain: her silence was louder than any live stream she had ever done. At the end of the presentation, there was an unexpected promise. She would invite people she didn't think you should invite. Perhaps she will even greet him again and show him the house. Within 2 days, paparazzi saw a black G-Wagon and a matte gray BMW arrive at a house in Calabasas, and ahead of Jaden, Alexis, Chrissy B, and Carissa. Chrisean has a complex and long past with 3 women. She had received intimate invitations. According to a person close to her, it's polite to call, keep your voice down, but the visitors had no idea that 3 secret cameras were already in operation. The air within the house seemed heavy, like an impending storm. In welcome, people gave each other quick hugs. There were food trays on the under the counter, and everyone was told to put their phones away, but only one. Though hidden, Christian kept hers close by in the back pocket of her pants. She crossed the kitchen quickly, her voice quiet but urgent. She expressed her weariness at the continuous drama. How she was exhausted, lonely, and too weak to keep up the feuds. For a moment, it appeared as though this meeting might only be amicable. The atmosphere in the room slightly shifted, its fragile peace developing. A sudden flare, though her eyes were full of resolve as she pulled out her phone. She quickly unlocked and scrolled through a folder named Receipts and tapped at No. Build up, no warning. From that folder, she played an audio tape that made everyone in the room gasp. On the tape, the voice was unmistakable. The complexion was bluish. His tone toward Carissa was casual, almost cold. Give her time to break. It's the content. It is a check. Crawling back, she did. The utterances hung in the air like explosion smoke. The kitchen, where nobody else, a lot of quiet talk was going on just a moment ago, but suddenly there is absolutely no sound. Carissa looked as though her thoughts had vanished out of thin air. Chrissy's hand instinctively closed over her lips as she gasped. Jaden stood motionless, and her eyes were wide, clearly having trouble processing what she had just heard. The temperature of the room appeared to decrease by several degrees. Not a single person moved. There was no comment, and they just stood there hung, too heavy to shatter. The stated purpose of this meeting, be it to have dinner together, make amends, or simply retrieve a moment later, the air was broken. The argument that had started out as awkward but perhaps controllable had now devolved into something far more dangerous. Personal complaints and hurt feelings were irrelevant. Betrayal, deception, and planning were all engaged. However, everyone seems to realize that the audio was proof of a conscious effort to exploit pain for financial benefit rather than just rumors or minor drama. It reframed all of the public altercations, disagreements, and eruptions that took place online. And it was in their faces now, so they couldn't ignore it. It had been terrible, but now the chamber was about to blow up. They were focusing on Chrissy, Carissa, and anyone else who might answer next. No more silence would remain. An event was about to happen. A fight, an angry outburst, or perhaps a complete collapse. Whatever it had been meant to be this night had just turned into a turning point, and there was no going back. The tone of a somber but amicable peace talk in Chrisean Rock's new mansion changed entirely. Upon turning to the room, she added, "Y'all laughed at me, but I'm the one holding all the receipts." It was a secret, and this was not reconciliation. Christian was planning the exposure with hidden cameras. An unexpected opening of the front door allowed her older brother, an unwanted W card, to enter. He looked directly into her eyes and asked, "You're letting people who dragged your name sit on your couch? What happened to you?" Carissa sobbed, her hands shaking. "I don't want to fight anymore." Christian's composure cracked. "I'm tired of being the villain. I just wanted to feel like I had power for once." Where there was chaos, opportunist Jaden ever kept shooting as Chrissy backed off. The second phone attached to a burner concealed. Somewhere, unintentionally, TikTok went live. Devices used by the fans were lighted by the signal that Chrisean was alive. As her cry reverberated, thousands of people were watching a wobbly, low-angle stream in a matter of seconds. If you're going to be spiteful of me anyhow, I might as well give you something to discuss. One chair has scratches on it. A door shut. There was a shout. Then it was silent. There was no longer any discussion about marble countertops, but the #ChristianHouse Tours feed was removed from the internet. They were crying as they spread rumors. Somebody threw a drinking, possibly even fighting. Although there was no proof, one thing was certain. The house's destruction, the olive branch, the vulnerability, it had all been planned. Now Chrisean was no longer in socials. Carissa promptly released her version of events. Her voice was shaking with barely controlled anger as she went live from inside her car, her hood on. It had felt to her like a stage setup the whole evening. A well-planned trap, she told her audience, was what the outside world thought was an emotional collapse. She talked about the details as though she were acting out a crime scene. There was no visible camera crew or active assistance yet. The house was strangely tidy, and the reception was curiously friendly. Chrisean played the damning audio clips, and Carissa said it all clicked. This was no casual event. It was a ruse to make people feel the most ashamed. She asserted that 3 secret cameras had been installed throughout, ready to capture every glance, gasp, and reaction. Carissa claims that Chrisean even privately threatened to disclose private communications if her visitors rejected any piece of information she as desired. Then came the part that truly made the internet go crazy. Carissa claimed that Chrisean had no real intention of holding a friendly meeting or offering any sort of compromise. Filming was planned for the debut episode of a new reality show. She claimed that a file called Proof of Growth, Episode 1, The Peace Trap, was already on her laptop. For dramatic effect, the title hung in midair, and Carissa's voice became rougher. As she repeated it, presented Chrisean as someone willing to utilize friendship, forgiveness, and even mental health conditions as weapons to create entertainment that could be edited and packaged for viewing. Carissa demanded that the treachery be cut. Beyond merely being taped without permission, it was the awareness that the entire evening had been orchestrated for narrative ends, a calculated tactic to provoke intense emotions, take them by surprise, and then transform their raw pain into content. Similar to a plot twist in a pre-written drama, she described how she had paced the kitchen earlier, talking about how lonely and depressed she was before bringing out the folder of receipts. It proved to Carissa that there was never any intention of making amends. Ratings were the problem. She received a barrage of comments on her live chat, some of which were supportive, while others accused her of overreacting or trying to shift the topic. And still, she took the initiative, suggesting that everyone pay attention to their backs. For in Chrisean's world, every embrace, expression of regret, and tear may be a scene from an episode you never agreed to be a part of. In addition, Carissa had changed by the end of her life, apart from shaping the public's perception of that night. It also sparked a broader conversation about the blurred lines between reality TV and the real world, where the peace sacrifice can sometimes be a trap. 15 minutes into Carissa's live stream, a 15-second clip emerged from one of Chrisean's secret angles, igniting the internet another time. In it, "They think I'm soft now that I'm crying online," she added, pacing the kitchen phone behind her back. "Make them feel as though I'm going to alter the whole narrative." The fan base disintegrated immediately. She was viewed by some as the mental health man of the clique. Others viewed her as a marketing whiz who created accidental cast members out of enemies. The old enigmatic subtitles were suddenly replaced with teases. "I must clear the energy before I offer you all the excursions God has blessed me with. A mansion that everyone ought to see." The foreshadowing she had been doing for weeks had gone unnoticed. Blueface was the one who initially caused a commotion. "Look at Instagram quickly. Tail, he commented. "She's finally using that brain for something besides drama. Salute." He smiled slyly at the chaos and then, before the applause could fade, added a more critical comment. He doubled down a few hours later, posting a happy selfie with Jaden, together with the comment, "We survived the trap house." That one statement fueled an already blazing fire. "Y'all think she's deep. Nah, she's just lonely and smart." Combo. What had started out as rumors of a house tour now appeared more like the lead-up to a long game. An odd combination of reality TV or a psychological battle was waged in the only arena big enough for both theater and the internet. Suddenly, the story rather than the house was the mystery. Were marble worktops and a little chandelier the focus of the invitation? Maybe the scene was just a front for something bigger. Even a docuser's soft launch, maybe. Perhaps this was the start of Christian's new chapter or the gradual burn of her previous public breakdown. The words that would soon be whispered behind closed doors lost sight of her as she walked silently along a corridor of polished marble. Like a coded message, the blurry black and white video was uploaded to her backup TikTok without any postings or statements. On the internet, half of people believed she had been tampering all along. But the other half still couldn't tell if they were seeing a new development or a collapse. The discussion became a battleground after Carissa's livestream concluded, and leaked back pocket film began to circulate with hashtags like Chrisean Rock. And behind closed doors ping-ponging across the trending tab for 2 days in succession. She was portrayed by Team Genius as a smart tactician who turned unbridled chaos into a dramatic plot twist that even Mona Scott would be pleased with. She was charged by Team Fake Healing with deceit and exploiting mental health narratives, merely to deceive opponents into a content trap. This didn't give them any sense of power. Was it art masquerading as taking advantage of? Into the battle came stars. When pain turns into a product, just hope you aren't the storyline. With a laugh, Sauce Santana remarked that Summer Walker didn't transform operations into an underpaid extra body. "Give that woman a crew, please," Dusky said. "Don't make this an exclusive bet. Netflix must have it." Tokyo Tony, who initiated the action, simply shouted into her phone, "I love it, darling. There are scores and scores." And a Blueface never won silence. He declared her emotional live feed Oscar-worthy before continuing, "She is healthy. Gone hungry." She had effectively made pain into a brand, and followers responded while he continued to rap in an odd way. A smoking gun trademark application for behind closed doors was found by Reddit investigators using her legal name in the interim. Soon after, there was a blind item leak that revealed a viral celebrity had agreed to a 6-figure contract for a Raw, multi-episode digital series that essentially covered everything from streaming rights to transparency-based healing. Started with a fictitious peace summit held in a palace. It became a firm theory. This place was free of chaos. The thing was a storyboard. Plot to entice Blueface, expose long-standing enemies, and prepare the ground for something far more important. Then came the 111 AA fall. Christian makeup that is captivating, tense, and fascinating in a 53-second clip. An untidy tangle of hair stared into a mirror. But even though they said I was broken, I was just waiting for the right time to respond. The cuts came fast once Jaden stepped into the mansion. Carissa was not aware of a hidden the camera's appearance. In a whisper, Chrisean traversed a hallway, asking, "Why does this feel like a trap?" The final image displayed a folder labeled Proof. White and black text soon began to leak behind locked doors. A voicemail allegedly left by Christian to a member of Lena's management team was the latest twist that detonated on her as the panic reached its peak. She spoke with a cold, deliberate tone. "Control, not a house, is the issue here. I'm employing angles, lighting, and cameras to fight the public image damage they attempted to do to me. We dump it in court when the weak Blueface shows up." The recording concluded with a violent vow. "When they see the last scene, No one will ever again play my name